things you can buy at a hardware store. They understood that, hell, you took down $1 trillion security web with a $200 plane ticket. So they were like, damn, we're willing, we love to fight, we love to bang, but it gets a bit expensive and counterproductive doing. So they came up with this concept is, how do we oppress people without as much ongoing backlash and uprising? How do I make sure when I go to bed, I wake up and my head is still attached to my body? How do I prevent Nat Turners and Toussaint Louvertures and Malcolm X's and Huey P? I don't want no more Fred Hamptons all up in my grill. And if a Fred Hampton rises up, if another Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, if Assata Shakur, if these if these radicals rise up, if these radical scholars start writing books, how do I make sure that 90% of black people will ignore them? How do I make sure these black people who claim they want freedom and justice, black people who look at the goddamn TV and see their own children being murdered by the state, how do I make sure they won't send $1 to a black scholar, but they'll pay $13,000 for a goddamn Beyonce so she can get on the stage and say, bow down, bitches, in a blonde wig and blue tie? How do I get them into that state? And that's when they came up with directing through deficits and directing through denial. And they figured this shit out over time. It took them a minute. Or there's an old saying, there's the most effective way, the book, Beyond Freedom and Dignity. The best way to enslave a man is to give him the impression of freedom. The best way to enslave someone is to give them the impression of freedom. To tell these black people, what I want is what the white man got. I'm free. You go to a black man, I'm a free man. I got 6 figures. I'm a high value male. And what do you choose voluntarily to do with your freedom? I want to buy from the white man. I want to mimic the white man. I want to live amongst the white man. Hell, I want a white woman. And I'm doing this of my own free choice. Amos Wilson said back in the 80s, how come the exercise of our freedom plays out in perpetuating our oppression? And we freely, or as I love Kwame Ture said, he calls it picking cotton at night. He said when black people engage in behaviors that perpetuate our oppression voluntarily without any direct coercion, he calls it picking cotton at night. You got to pick cotton during the day. You got to go to work. But when the white man rings the bell and you get to go home, some people stay out there and pick cotton at night. So every time he see a black person buying a luxury car, moving into an all-white neighborhood, sending their black child to an elite white school, he calls that picking cotton at night. You ain't nobody even forcing you to do that shit. It's bad enough. It's a lot of shit we got to do in this system just to navigate and survive. But there's a large segment of shit we do in this society that we ain't got to do. But we do it anyway, in exercising our freedom. Don't nobody got to buy all this cheap, ugly-ass gaudy blood diamonds and blood gold and platinum. Ain't nobody making y'all buy that ugly-ass shit, them ugly-ass Kanye shoes. Ain't nobody forcing you to buy Jordans. You got to have some shoes. And there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. So you got to have a pair of sweatshop shoes. But you got to have Jordan sweatshop shoes? 607 can't get the $30, $40, $50 sweatshop shoes. Got to get the red bottoms. That's been cotton at night. So anyway, here's the directing through deficit and directing through denial. White folks said, listen, if we want black people to not focus on what they need to focus on and focus on bullshit, we simply deny them something. When my wife and I had a beautiful restaurant called Cafe Seed. It was vegan, the first all-vegan restaurant in Kansas City, Missouri. And when we were in there setting up, we were painting, we were installing the stove and putting in the workstation and interviewing waitresses and we had some wholesalers come in and give us samples of product. We were just going through the motions of setting up, and we had to go buy an open sign and a closed sign. Right? We had to go buy some signage for the store, and we had this lady come out and do this custom window design. And I said to my wife jokingly, I said, if we want this restaurant to really be a hit, we should put no colors allowed. No colors, no Negroes allowed on the front of the door. And I said, if we put no Negroes allowed on the front of the door, black people are going to line up around the corner. Black people are going to fly from all over the world and demand to eat at our establishment. They're going to march, they're going to sing gospel songs, and they're going to stand up and protest and demand. We won't have to go out and advertise. We won't have to go out and promote. We don't have to have the food critics come in and review our stuff. Nothing. We just put no colored folks allowed in this establishment and put an old, ugly white lady up front and an old, dirty white man over the stove. And black people will be willing to die and face water hoses and attack dogs, get hit in the head with billy clubs and get pepper spray to come eat some of our food. And so many decades, black people, white folks just randomly, you can't drink out this fountain. You can't go to this shitty ass school. You can't live in this shitty ass soulless neighborhood devoid of culture in the suburbs. And we spend all our time chasing after what white folks can't say we have. And we don't even take a moment to say, do we want this shit? Do we need this shit? Is this shit good for us? We say, if white folks say we can't have it, we got to get it. And we spend all our time and money going after it. That is directing through deficit. So what do they want? We want black people to join the tech sector and bring their brilliance to the tech sector. Oh, let's say there's a tech debt. We need STEM. We need to get into the schools. And so whenever they deny us something or there is a deficit of something, we put all our energy into doing that instead of saying, hold up, wait a minute. What do we want? Regardless of what white folks want to give us or what white folks want to deny us, to hell with that. Do we want to sit at their lunch counters? Do we want to sit in their buses? Do we want to live in their neighborhoods? Do we want our kids going to their schools? Do we want to sit in their corporate boardrooms? Do we want to be elected in their primaries? I ain't saying the answer is yes or no, but we just say we want it because it's denied to us. They said we can't have it. White ice is colder. So they can always direct us and herd us around like cattle as long as they are in control of the institutions and the resources of the society. They are directing and controlling us through deficits. And then they deny us something, some bullshit, and got us dancing in the street. Oh, this black man is the first textile importer, in the first black woman manager of the NBA, the first black man tap dancer on the Crystal Palace of the Rockefeller Center, the first headliner, the first black NFL quarterbacks, both teams. Got us praising shit that's not relevant to us. Got us celebrating irrelevant bullshit because they didn't let us do it now, but now he's here, sir, and now we're there, and nothing comes of it. There's nothing beyond that one exuberance. We got a black president that bombed the shit out of Africa, that presided over the greatest loss of black housing, black savings, black investment. So all they do is say, listen, if we want black people to fight or go after something, just tell them they can't have it. Y'all shitty ass boycotts. Oh no, if they tell us we can't have none, they don't want us. What happened to the NFL boycott? Y'all was supposed to boycott until that Cowboy owner lost his team, Kaepernick. I promise you, like I said, y'all talking shit. Remember y'all was going to boycott the NBA for Kyrie? So directing through deficit. This is something that has gone on. If white folks say we can't have it, we're going to do everything we can get it. And you know how you get shit from white folks? If white folks say you can't have it, it's like, good, I don't want it. Why? Take it. We can play that same hustle on them, but we don't. We're too motivated to be in spaces simply because they say we can't be there. And another historical repeat is equality with white people. We want no more than they have, we'll accept no less. Why did we think that equality with white people would humanize them instead of dehumanizing us? Why did we think equality with white people would humanize white people as opposed to dehumanize black people? Let me ask you, at any point in this time, at any point in the U.S. history, our experience in this cold, dank land, this insane nation, did white people as a collective or even as a community conduct themselves in a way that we should be equal to? Do we understand what equality means? And y'all thought it meant money. Y'all thought, oh, equality means we're going to get all the money and the housing and all the shit they get. Y'all thought equality would exclude mentality, equal culture, equal disposition, equal worldview and value system. And I got a horrible secret for y'all. Even if it was inequality in resources, the resources don't come from nowhere. So white people got rich from robbing us, and we want to be equal with them. Who do we rob? We can't rob them because that's opposite. Y'all didn't want opposite. Y'all wanted equality. So what do the rich black people do to this day? From Obama, rich celebrities, rich investment, go look up slutty vegan entrepreneur, go look up Rick Ross Chicken Shack. What are the rich black entrepreneurs and investors and capitalists doing right now? They're robbing black people, exploiting black labor to this day, because that's equality. What did we think equality would look like? Seriously. Black people hating on other black people. That's equality. What were white people doing? Hating on black people. Black people killing each other. What were white people doing? Killing us. We sought equality, and we got equality. Everybody loved equality until some equal shit happened. What is more equal? What makes you more equal to white people than exploiting and abusing black people? And we've been fighting for equality since I don't know when. And this is another element of equality, but it's not the same. It's called integration. Equality and integration are fucking insane. They make no sense to this day. I don't understand them. Integration, and we celebrate. And I mean, if you're a highly skilled black person and you out there in a white institution getting your money, whatever, why should any other black person celebrate that? Besides you, maybe your spouse and offspring and everybody you giving to directly. But it's not just integrating. I mean, sending our kids to their schools. And here's the thing where white folks figured out. Smart. I'm telling you, they're smart. When it comes to oppression and domination and maintaining their unjust systems, they're good. They said, listen, we got to desegregate the schools. We got to have diversity and inclusion, right? And so we'll just set up apartheid systems within our systems. So you go to Tesla, major corporation, $1 trillion company. And they find that within Tesla, the Indian and the black employees within Tesla in the same damn company are treated differently. It's an apartheid system within an integrated institution. I know black people send their kids to elite schools, predominantly white schools. Right now, there is a Hunger Games of schools in Chicago. I'm very familiar with it because my wife taught in schools. I was a substitute teacher, a tutor, a chess coach. I've been, back and forth. I ran a urban organic agriculture program for a few years with CPS after school program. So I've been messing around with Chicago public schools, and my wife been in and out of Chicago public schools and charter schools. My kid goes to a public school. So I know very, very, very familiar with the apartheid system within the schools. Right? So in the schools, you send your child to this elite Whitney Young, this elite school. And then in those schools, they have the college prep, advanced classes, calculus, all that. Then they have the remedial classes. So black kids are walking the halls with white students. Before we didn't got into school, all these little Ruby Bridges every morning. I know, man, there are black people on the south side of Chicago waking their babies up at 4, 5 in the morning for that 3-hour commute to the north side, to the north suburbs, the northwest suburbs. I knew a black woman who was a principal of a black school and sent her son way 100 miles away from the school. She was the principal. So there's this like race, and the school's the most blamed, but this happens in the corporate world, the private sector, universities, and inside those schools, there's an apartheid system. They got these remedial classes. So the kids mingle in the lunchroom, they mingle in the gymnasium, they mingle at the dances and shit. But when it comes time for education, the white children are educated to rule, and the black children are educated to serve or indoctrinated in the same damn building. You thought because if you could get in the building, then you're getting what they got, and you're gonna come out with what they come out with. Equality and integration need to be expunged. And every time I was just talking to a brother, these integrationists, whenever they never claim the failures of integration. You look at the state, the integrationists and the equality segment of the black movement won. We got equality and integration on paper, civil rights. There's not one major company or one major educational institution and not one government agency that does not have a diversity and inclusion program in it. Minority recruiters making hundreds of thousands of dollars going into companies and agencies saying, hey, you need some color up in y'all, and I can get you some color up in y'all. Getting paid good dollars. So integration and equality won, and our overall status and standing decline. Overall status and standing declines. And the integrationists don't say, hey, I failed y'all. That's me, my bad, that's on me. They say, no, it's these criminals, it's these no good thugs out here. Thugs? Where do you think thuggery and gangs came from? That is white culture. If you are a black person in a gang criminal enterprise, you are exercising equality and integration, because criminality and violence is a cornerstone of Western culture, and criminality and violence is how they came to prominence. So you can't say criminals are not people who defied King's dream. Bill Cosby had that wrong. The black criminals and thugs and predators are the most integrated and equal black people in the black community. It's us lawful black people. We're the ones that didn't get the memo, who didn't understand the assignment. So equality and integration need to be replaced with liberation and Pan-Africanism. All the effort we put into being equal with white people need to be reoriented towards uniting with African diaspora and the African continent. So if you're going to get beat in the head, sprayed with water hoses, sick dogs on you, pepper sprayed, if you're going to be locked up singing We Shall Overcome in dank prison cells, if we're going to go through all that shit from here forward, it will be in our effort to reunite with African continent, to reunite with Africans in the Caribbean, to unite with Africans in Central and Latin America. Our job now, all we took for 100 years, we got our asses kicked to sit next to white folks. Now, if we're going to get an ass whooping, it's going to be because we were fighting to sit and hold and lock arms with our people across the globe. No more equality and integration, liberation, and Pan-Africanism, or the history will repeat. Another thing that we repeat, that we keep doing historically, handpicked and system-sanctioned black leaders. And we think we're too smart for that. They've been picking our leaders since the plantation. And I don't care if the leader gets up and say, the white man is the devil, the white man is, you can talk all the trash you want about the white man. What is your agenda? What is your ideology? What is your methodology? And what does the outcome look like? I talked about this last week. We got all these black people talking mad reckless, talking mad militant. But when you look and dissect their ideology, they're capitalist, they're patriarchal, they're strict hierarchies. Many of them, I'm a black nationalist. But the nation they envision is just nothing more than a black version of Western imperialism and Western capitalism. So black people, in order to stop repeating this history, we need to come up with our own protocol, standards, and requirements and terms and conditions for black leaders. Can't be capitalist and black. Can't be sexist and a black leader. You cannot be unaccountable and a black leader. We need to have our own standards. And a lot of these black militant leaders who claim to hate the system and hate the man, when you distill them down to their base components, they are handpicked or system sanctioned. They don't want nothing more than a black version, an equal integrated version of black America. And you got militant, aggressive integrationists, you have nonviolent integrationists, you have Christian integrationists, you have Islamic integrationists. So no more handpicked or system-sanctioned black leaders. No more leaders for life. That's another historical repeat. I have to pick up the pace. What time? Pick up the pace. Cults and cults of personalities. Father Divine. Since the beginning, black community has been plagued by cults. Either joining white cults like the morons, or forming our own cults. And these Islamic cults, Christian cults, and a lot of times Afrocentrics. Akan, Ifa, Kemetic cults. We got to shun cultism. Black people and religious leaders, spiritual fathers, that shit got to go. African struggles must be secular, rationalist, evidence-based. I'm not saying you can't have your faith, you can't build your shrine or call on your ancestors. But our formations have to be secular. You can have your individual whatever, but collectively, our institutions, movements, and organizations must be secular. Another history we're repeating is this great migration bullshit, trying to put lipstick on pigs, where we go through something and we try to put a positive slant on it, like the great migration. There's a new great migration. Black people are moving back south. We're being driven out of the cities. Chicago is hemorrhaging black people. New York City is losing black people. California, black people are being driven out by conquistadors on the West Coast. And we're running back down to the refuge of the South, Wakanda. They're calling Georgia Wakanda. Fucking Georgia, Mason, Dixieland, Georgia is now black people out here. T.I. telling us that's Wakanda. The Great Migration. I tell y'all, as my aunt told me, black people, we're the wildebeest of the world. The middle beasts go on these great mass migration, and all the predatory animals feed off of them as they go and try to reach the fertile ground. They try to get to grazing land, and their children are picked off, their elders are picked off, and then after all the children and elders are preyed upon, they go after the mainstay. And the wildebeest, and the thing that's ironic is the wildebeest are the most powerful animals. If they would just unite and organize themselves, the lions, the gators, the hyenas, they would starve. Now, that's a natural ecosystem and a natural cycle, but that's not natural for black people. She would say that all the time. I go visit my elder, and we watch the news. I'll sit and have tea while she pours a glass of wine, and we'll talk, strategize. She'll tell me how wrong I am about everything and tell me how to raise my kids. Oh, I love my elders. Tell me I'm doing everything wrong. She does to me what I come and do to y'all. Everything you're doing is wrong. Get it together. But she would always say, we are the wildebeest of the world. Everybody preys on us, and we just keep running and striving instead of turning around and putting our horns forward and putting our horns towards gorging our enemies. We just keep running. So now we got black people. We all migrated up north for a better day and lost over $1 trillion worth of wealth stolen from us when we did our great migration seeking the warmth of other suns. And we now write the history like it was just a bunch of striving, enterprising black people and not an ethnic cleansing, genocidal atrocity. And here we are going through it again, and black people moving down south and going on social media talking about how good your life is when you got ran out of the northern metropolis with your ass on fire. But everybody's succeeding and everybody's successful and doing great. So all these migrating across this country, being herded across this country like cattle, is another history that we repeat. Nonviolence. The family of Tyree talking about we want peaceful protests. Black people bragging about how peaceful the protest was. They don't even talk about what the protest was about. I read articles about the protest and all the black people, we were peaceful. We were peaceful. We were peaceful. Give it a rest, Pastor John. Nobody's listening to you and your COVID hysterics, man. Give it a rest, but keep it up, man. You keep the algorithm afloat. But I digress. I'm sorry. So nonviolence, bragging, thinking nonviolence is a virtue. And you got a black man standing there. He got on some jewelry that came from a mine by a child through violence. He got on a shirt made in Bangladesh in a sweatshop in violence. His shoes were made in Indonesia under military dictatorship. The land he's on is Native American land that was cultivated by enslaved Africans. Every element of his life is saturated in blood and violence. His car that he drove to the rally in got gas from the Middle East after 1 million people murdered by the U.S. Military machine, polluting and killing ecosystems and animals all over the world. And a black man and a black woman or a white man and white woman will stand up with everything that makes their lives livable. Their food, their clothing, their shelter is all saturated in blood and violence. And get in the microphone and says, this was a non-violent protest. We're non-violent. These goddamn Christian preachers, how you a goddamn Christian talking about non-violent, the most violent religion to this day? Christianity. Who had a bigger body count than Christians? Most of the murderers in prisons are in jail. Whenever you go and you ask the final words of an executed violent criminal and they say, oh, I'm going to be with Jesus. And they're not lying. You know how many murderers and cannibals are up there in the lap of Christ? All you got to do is say, I accept Jesus Christ as my life and Lord and Savior, and all my sins. And Jesus carry your sins. Cannibals and murderers and pedophiles all up there with Jesus. And you're going to get up here and say, we're nonviolence. So nonviolence, I'll tell you, it is a history we repeat, thinking nonviolence is a virtue. It's a way of life. Nonviolence is a strategy. It is a tactic. It is not a way of life. It is not a virtue. It is no more noble to me, nonviolence, than to pick up a hammer and bash the head of your oppressor. It just depends on the appropriate time and the appropriate tactic and method any type of in determining the nature of your struggle. So this nonviolent shit, how we got a black man in 2023, no, I want peaceful protest. Shut your ass up. If you want to be peaceful, then go be peaceful. Don't tell nobody else what the fuck to do when we're suffering from the same genocidal oppression as you. Shut the fuck up. And if you don't want to participate in the violence, get out of the way of it. But don't denounce it. And those same black business owners that when brothers and sisters were in the street smashing windows in rebellion for what happened to George Floyd, them black business owners was on TV on Fox News. Oh, I'm a business owner and I worked to have to clean up my business. They didn't stand with us when we were rebelling. But soon as the shit was over, they were like, shop in my black business, fuck your black business. If you don't stand with the people in rebellion, what the hell do black businesses do for us except create another class enemy? Another thing we repeat is what I call soiled solidarity and vertical movements. Soiled solidarity is we lock arms and join with people that don't have our best intentions. They screw us over. Black people join the gay rights struggle, and then the white gays and lesbians and transgender people, after they get the rights, leave the black people right in the ghetto where they found them when the movement started. We fight for immigrant rights. And the immigrant rights, when they get here, they start voting Republican, and they go from being Latino or Hispanic to being white, to being Spaniards and conquistadors, and start discriminating, displacing us after we fought to make sure that they got their human rights respected when they were refugees and immigrants. We join with the Irish. with the Catholics. When the Protestants were fighting the Catholics, we were like, y'all not doing these Catholic folks right. We've been fighting with the Jews for how long? And we got the Zionist nation sterilizing African women. Soiled solidarity. We keep locking arms and joining movements, and people leave us in the dust when they get what they want. Capitalism and dollarism. We still on that respectability, moralism, family value bullshit, vicariousism, thinking we can live vicariously through the black elites. That's a whole list here. I can't get through the whole list. My main thing is everything needs to come up on the dissection block. Everything we believe, everything we do, everything we advocate for needs to be dissected and reworked. We need revolution. The life-sustaining capacity of the earth is being destroyed by capitalist industry, the war machine, and global white hegemony. All those things need to be done away, abolished. And we don't have enough time. We have to revolutionize, radicalize. And I'm going to have to wrap this up today. I'll see y'all. I'll be back